Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Please rise for the pledge and remarks by Councilmember Harding.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. So, a little over a month ago, at our September 17th meeting, Councilmember Johnson talked about September being Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. She brought to our attention the importance of regularly visiting your physician on a regular basis to check your prostate and PSA levels. Nearly 1 out of 8 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. I am one of those 8. Last spring, I had my blood checked as part of a physical, and my PSA had risen to a point of concern. After consultation with my primary physician, I saw a urologist and went through a battery of tests, including a biopsy. The results were not what I was hoping for. The biopsy was confirmed that there was cancer. Fortunately for me, it was determined that it was probably caught early and that we could monitor it for a while. But the decision, the best decision would be eventually to remove the prostate. And so we scheduled the procedure for later this year. I sat in this chair on September 17th, listening to Councilmember Johnson talk about prostate cancer. Little did she know I was scheduled for my procedure just 3 days after that. So on Friday, September 20th, I had what is known as a radical prostatectomy. The good news is, at least in my mind, is that my pathology and lab reports came back a few days later, indicating that the source was successfully removed and my margins were clear. I will still require semi-regular blood draws to confirm that we have been successful in removing the cancer, but all indications are that we are on the right track. I want to publicly thank my doctors and nurses and staff at the Urology Center of Omaha Methodist Hospital. I'd also like to thank my wife, Rebecca, for her care and acting as my private nurse. Prostate cancer is highly treatable. In fact, the survival rate is over 99% for those who detect early. It is estimated that almost 300,000 men will be newly diagnosed with prostate cancer this year. 35,000 will not survive. I'm one of the fortunate ones, and in great part because of early detection. I know many men who have not been to their general practitioner for years. I hope by me coming forth and being public about my experience will encourage all, maybe some, or at least just one, for them to get checked. You might just save your own life.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that story. Madam Clerk.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of legislative chambers.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Omaha City Council. We appreciate having you here today. We look forward to hearing from you on our many items today. If you have trouble hearing today's proceedings, I would encourage you to visit our Building Commission representative here for a listening device, or we do have closed captioning in the back of the room as well if you want to access it that way too. If you have your cell phones, I encourage you to turn those off or at least to vibrate.
Item 6, to consider a Class C liquor license for a Legacy Chop House located at 17070 Wright Plaza, Suite 100.
Public hearing and vote on number 6 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the council. David Houghton, 2804 South 87th Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant, Legacy Chop House LLC, doing business as Legacy Chop House for a Class C liquor license. Legacy Chop House will be located at 17070 Wright Plaza, Suite 100. The concept is a upscale steakhouse. Many of you are probably familiar with the location. It's where Upstream Brewery Company and Jams were located at one time. So the owners are here today to answer any questions about the business and this new venture you may have. They're very excited about it, as are we. And with that, I'd leave it to any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Mr. Rowe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to have either Steve or Natalie come up if you wouldn't mind. Thank you for coming down today. I had the pleasure of talking to Natalie earlier this week about your application, and I just can't be more excited. It's a great location for your new business, and I didn't have any questions for her. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to do a little commercial about the Chop House that's going to be located out west.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate the support. Very excited. It's a concept that we came up with that it's kind of a rustic meets modern at the steakhouse offering prime steak and seafood. Well, actually has a very high-end pork as well. But a very fun environment, and it wasn't until halfway through the process that we found out we'd be able to get into the building that's out in Legacy, and we couldn't be more excited. One of the most beautiful buildings in Omaha, and we're just very excited to be there, very excited to be part of the Omaha community, creating some jobs. I think we have 40, 50 people already hired, ready to go, doing some training, and just excited to get started and have a chop house out west.
Great, that's great news. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 7, to consider a Class C liquor license for Trips Bar and Grill located at 7812 F Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 7 is today. Proponents, please.
I'm Todd O'Mori, one of the owners of Partners Group. Taking over Starsky's business as Trips Bar and Grill. We're going to take over established bar and grill that was already there. Kind of more after dark, super dark. Have a back room for those special parties, birthday parties, and so forth.
Great. Thank you. Any other proponents here today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Item 8, to consider a Class L liquor license for Barley Boys Brewery located at 8410 K Street, Suite 6.
Public hearing and vote on number 8 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Thank you for your time today. My name is Vanessa Stilta-Fairfold, 1700 Barnum Street, Suite 1500. I represent Natural Group LLC, doing business as Barley Boys Brewery. Their location will be at 8410 K Street, Suite 6.
The new application, new location, an L license for a brew pub. So we're excited for them to open this business. They've been in progress for quite a while to get this concept off the ground. So today, Christy White, one of the owners, and the liquor license manager, Jason Nasser, are here if you have any questions. If not, we appreciate your yes vote in favor of recommending this license.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Items 9 and 10 can be considered together for Harvey Industrial Park Replat 3, located at 4420 South 67th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 9, a resolution to approve the final plat. Item 10, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 9 and 10 are today. Proponents, please.
Hello, I'm Caleb Van Wilden with Lamper Nearson, 147110 West Dodge Road. Here on behalf of the applicant, also with me is Jeremy from Hawkins Construction. We are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Items 11 and 12 can be considered together for Southside Terrace 2, located northeast of 30th and W Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 11, a resolution to approve the final plat. Item 12, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement.
Public hearing and vote on items 11 and 12 are today. Proponents, please.
Brian Hanson, 1823 Harney Street, here for the Omaha Housing Authority. I'm the general counsel. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill Lukash, Brinshore Development, 903 South 184th Avenue Circle. Also here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 13, an ordinance to rezone property located at 2226 Howard Street from DS District to CBD District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 13 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, I'm Brendan Findle with Lamper and Earson, 14710 West Dodge Road. I'm here representing the applicant and here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Motion and second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Item 14, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the MCC overlay district to incorporate into that district the property located at 3401 South 84th Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 14 is today. We have the applicant by Zoom. Ms. Neal will get you off mute here in a second. Okay, try that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Nikki Neal with CDA Engineering, 4121 Northwest Urbandale Drive. So just here to answer any questions on behalf of the owner. And I believe there is a representative of the owner in attendance today as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 15, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow a daycare in the R4 district located at 7325 North 166th Avenue. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 15 is today. Proponents, please.
Hello, my name is Natalia Drozdova. I have an in-home daycare at home and I want to extend it. We finish in our basement and the whole basement will be dedicated for children. It will be a nice, beautiful space. I want to have up to 12 children there.
Thank you. And your address for the record?
7325 North 166th Avenue, Bennington, Nebraska.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Move the approval.
There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, good luck.
Item 16, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow indoor sports and recreation in the GI district located at 13425 F Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 16 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, I'm Liz Tanji. Address is 2819 Cherry Street. I am the owner of the Home Court Omaha, and we'll be doing business as Ace Pickleball Club.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. I might just ask you, so I think this is, we haven't seen too many of these pickleball facilities that are privately run, and this is it all indoors?
It is all indoors, yes.
You want to tell us a little bit more about
Yes.
how many courts and what you'll be doing?
It'll be 13 courts and 1 dinking court. It's going to be a membership base, but open for drop-ins, basically recreational, not like food or beverage, except for, Gatorade and that type of thing.
Mhm.
So
And how many courts did you say?
13.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm sure that'll be a welcome addition to the high demand we have for pickleball in the city right now.
And the horrible weather in Omaha. Yeah.
All winter long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. No further lights, roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 17, a resolution to approve the Frame Apartments and Millwork Hotel Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located northwest and southeast of 13th and Nicholas Streets in an amount up to $10,297,186.
Public hearing and vote on number 17 is today. Proponents, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Don Seaton, City Planning. This is an ambitious 2-building, 2-phase project of significant scale in the rapidly transforming Millwork Commons District. Christian and Deborah Christensen of Bluestone Development will be developing one of the sites with what they're calling the Frame Apartments. It'll be a 5-story apartment building with 149 market rate units, and it's actually a mixed-use building. It'll include 10,500 square feet of first-floor commercial space as well. On the other site, Black Dog, in the other phase, Black Dog Funds, managed by Paul G. Smith, will rehabilitate an existing vacant historic warehouse building. They'll be rehabbing that building completely as a new hotel. The hotel will be an amenity-rich facility in an upscale specialty hotel line. It will have 135 rooms, and those include 19 suites. As I mentioned, the Millwork Commons District is changing quite rapidly. You may recall the Noto project coming through just recently. This purple one is the Frame Apartments, and the Millwork Hotel is about a half a block away, both of them along Nicholas near 13th Street. Both of these, here's a rendering of the hotel. Both of these phases, both of these sites are within an EBA, that's an extremely blighted area, so they have a 20-year TIF term. The hotel is additionally in the outer edge of the urban core plan area, so some of its TIF revenues will be contributed to the streetcar construction. This total project investment in the Millwork District is over $101 million. TIF support for the project is $10,297,186. This is a very impactful project. Here's the vacant building that'll be rehabbed as an upscale hotel. This is a very impactful project. It's very good for downtown, good for the Millwork District, good for the city as a whole. Meets the required criteria of the TIF program. It's appropriate land use for this area, and we ask for your approval. I would note that as with all TIF projects, there's no city money goes into this. The TIF revenues that are used for the project are generated by the project itself based on new taxes. If the project didn't exist, the TIF revenues for it would not exist. And anyway, we ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. As usual, I'm opposing this project, as with most TIF financing, largely because unless we challenge you, we don't really get the transparency that we need, and I'll tell you why. when I was reading the state auditor's interpretation of the law on TIF financing and compared it to the wording on this document and that you can look up online if you have time, there's certain words left out of this document, such as the definition of ad valorem taxes, who it is taxed to, and what it means. The words left out on this document uses the term ad valorem property taxes of particularly people in that district. Now, you're either right or he's right. I'm not a lawyer. But to me, that's lack of transparency on this council's part, and the planning department, I suppose, is responsible for that. Because it does, according to the state auditor, raise property taxes, which you have told me repeatedly that it does not. Now, in this case, there's not a lot of house properties down there, so maybe they're going to build condos and townhomes that will be sold to somebody that owns it, and they'll pay the property tax? Or in this case, are you referring to visitors to the area shopping in, I don't know, retail shops, paying the higher taxes as a valorem tax? I'd like you to explain how that works so the citizens that might be listening can learn how that works and how it does not affect theirs or my property tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearings closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Don, if you don't mind coming back up to answer the question that was posed to us by Larry as it relates to the ad valorem poverty tax.
The taxes that pay the TIF dollars that are generated by the project to pay off the TIF loan that the developers get to develop the project, those dollars are generated as ad valorem property taxes. But they are the taxes on the value of the new construction that is created by the project. We're not talking about general citywide ad valorem tax levies or levies on adjacent neighboring properties. We're talking about the property taxes, the ad valorem taxes paid on the new value that is created by the development itself, which then goes to service the private loan that the developers get from a bank. And those are how those are used.
And can you also explain what elements have to be present in order to qualify for TIF?
I'm not sure I understand your question. There's many things that are required for you to be eligible for TIF. I mean, a long laundry list.
Pardon me?
There's a long laundry list of items that are required for a project to qualify for TIF.
All things that would be related to economic development?
They're all related to economic development.
Okay, so let me break it down.
Okay.
Let's talk about jobs, whether that's before the building being remodeled and after the building is remodeled, there will be jobs, I would imagine. Let's talk about those numbers.
Give me just a moment. I've got a sheet I need to grab. Sorry. Okay, with the frame apartment, excuse me, there'll be 3 permanent jobs and 255 construction jobs. With the hotel, we're looking at a new 116 full-time equivalent positions for employment, plus another 125 of construction jobs.
And earlier you mentioned that this would be, at first you said market rate building / correction mixed use. Can you?
It's basically a mixed use building. There'll be 5 stories. The upper 4 floors have 149 apartment units. And then the first floor is about 10,500 square feet of commercial.
And do we know any idea? I guess I can ask the owners regarding what the rental costs for for the businesses that will be on the lower level?
It's in the staff report for the planning board, which is part of your packets.
For the
Don't know.
record and for those that are listening for educational purposes?
I do have it here. For one-bedroom apartments, the rent will be about $1,681. For two-bedroom apartments, about $2,291.
So will there be any, because this is in District 2, correct?
District 2?
Yes.
Is it in your council district? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
It is, yes.
Okay. So will there be any apartments that will fall into the category of those that have low income?
I don't believe so. Usually those require a subsidy, and there's no subsidy on this.
Okay,
These are market rate apartments.
So let's go back to TIF. So there is nothing that insures us as it relates to using TIF funding that would allow us to perhaps afford some opportunities for those in categories of poverty to occupy some of these apartments.
We use our TIF program to promote affordable housing, but it is not a requirement for any particular project. We have been successful in getting LIHTC projects and affordable projects assisted with TIF, but again, it's not a program requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Is there a motion? So, motion to approve and a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
Public hearings on agenda items 18 through 26 were held on October 8th. I don't see any further lights. Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second on these items. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
There's been a request to remove item number 52 off the consent agenda. So first we will take the other items, 27 through 51. So the public hearings on agenda items 27 through 51 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, and who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. This is 27 through 51.
I didn't quite have enough time to read it all, but I think I'm going to speak on 59.
So this is through 51, right?
Did you say 51 or 59?
51.
51. Nope. Question though. I did want to speak about the scooters. That's not speakable
Which item are you looking at?
on the scooters?
I believe that was,
I didn't quite hear you. You pulled that off the agenda or?
I don't believe that's in this category. I'm just making sure
Okay.
for you here. Yeah. Any other testifiers on 27 through 51? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. There's a motion and a second to approve these items. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 52, a resolution to approve the partnership agreement with Spark for an Environmental Protection Agency Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grant for the North Omaha Trail.
The public hearing on vote on number 52 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, President Festerson and members of the City Council. My name is Kimara Snipes, Kimarasnipes. My address is 3902 Davenport Street, Omaha, Nebraska 68131. And I am the Executive Director of One Omaha. I'm here today to express my strong support for the partnership agreement with Spark CDI, which is crucial for the submission of the EPA Community Change Grant. The EPA Community Change Grant represents a really transformative opportunity for our community, especially in addressing the environmental challenges faced by our neighborhoods. If approved, this grant will empower us to develop sustainable solutions that promote both environmental justice and community well-being. One Omaha strives to engage and empower our neighbors right where they live. Our collaboration with Spark CDI will be vital in ensuring that the voices of our community members are heard and prioritized throughout this process. Community engagement is not just a checkbox, it is essential for the success of any initiative, particularly when it comes to environmental issues that directly affect people's health and quality of life. With the funding from the EPA grant, One Omaha can organize workshops and outreach efforts that will educate our neighbors about environmental issues, gather their insights, and help them develop solutions tailored to their needs. This collaborative approach ensures that the strategies we implement are not only effective, but also rooted in the community's values and aspirations. Moreover, this grant will enable us to take a holistic approach to community development. By focusing on environmental sustainability, we'll create spaces that not only beautify our neighborhoods, but also provide recreational opportunities and improve overall public health. Imagine our neighborhoods thriving with clean air, safe green spaces, and a community that is engaged and empowered to take action. This partnership is a powerful testament to our commitment to fostering resilient and thriving neighborhoods. In closing, I urge you to vote in favor of the partnership agreement with Spark CDI. This is not just about securing funding, it's about laying the foundation for a healthier, more connected, and more equitable Omaha. Together we can create a brighter future for all of our neighbors. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Well, thank God Camera went before me. Thank you. She practically expressed all of that I was going to say up here. First of all, thank you, President Festerson, for inviting me to be able to speak on this, and all council members. Councilman Harding, as a person that lost his mom to cancer, I'd like to say I'm really happy to see you here for your family. So, and Councilwoman Johnson, thank you for bringing that very, very critical issue that I still haunts me till this day. That being said, Spark has convened a community.
Just your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Bowie Ray Tud. I'm the CEO of Spark. My address is 5003 California Street. And the Spark has convened community partnerships and a community advisory board in partnership with the city to apply for a $20 million community change grant. The project is grassroots, community-driven expansion of the North Omaha Trail focused on reducing air pollution in North Omaha and enhancing climate-resilient infrastructure. The project adds 3 miles of trail and offers supporting programs along the trail, including free tree planting, air quality monitoring, and program to ensure equitable access. And Spark and 8 partner organizations like One Omaha are excited to activate the community's vision for this project. The EPA has classified this census tracts in North Omaha as disadvantaged community due to higher than normal levels of pollution and disproportionate climate impacts such as urban heat island effects. I guess I'm also up here to answer any questions council members may have about this grant during this process.
Great, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Christy Abdul Green. I'm the Executive Director of Keep Omaha Beautiful. My address is 11311 North 60th Street. I am here in support of this project as well. I've been extremely impressed with the due diligence that Spark has gone through as the lead applicant on this grant. we would be involved in planting trees along that trail. We know that some of these areas where the trail is located are in high urban heat areas, and so trees will help mitigate that for the people who are using the trail. So just here to testify in support of that, and if there's any questions, I'm also happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Hi there, my name is Logan Spackman. I'm the programs manager at Roam Share, which operates the nonprofit Heartland Bike Share program here in Omaha. Our address is 1144 North 11th Street, Suite B. I'm here today on behalf of Heartland Bike Share in support of this resolution. This grant and partnership opportunity is a unique opportunity to support active mobility in our Omaha community. This project represents a grassroots, community-driven expansion of the North Omaha Trail and will deepen our connections and foster a resilient, unified, and active community. So Heartland Bike Share is excited to be a partner organization with Spark CDI and other organizations on this project through the inclusion of additional bike share stations along the North Omaha Trail expansion that will help us mobilize our community. Trails and bike share connect us to the places we call home and improve our overall quality of life. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. I apologize for not doing homework last night to read all of the attachments, but I'm against this, I think, largely because I don't understand it. It's using legal terminology that's unbeknownst to me, except for the possibility that this is cultural Marxism, and I'll explain why. What will we do with the grant money when it's no longer there, or if the government wants it back? And why is it only on this particular stretch of land? If you want to change the environment, why not somewhere else where it needs changing? By cleanup, not by climate. The climate isn't going to affect just this little piece of land. And the wording, environment and justice, Justice Community Center, trail. What's justice got to do with this? This is cultural Marxism, folks, and you're allowing it to creep into our nation. This is a nonprofit that's allowing this terminology. They're probably connected nationally to a program on climate change. Green Machine, the world bodies that want climate change on the United Nations, the globalists. It's time to put an end to some of this. At least change the wording and make this known as an experimental trail for children to grow up on. We can't do anything about environmental change. There's only one person in the universe that could do that, and he looks over the universe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Bowie, I might have you come up just for a few questions and remarks. I think we have some other lights on too. But I wanted to give you a chance to give a little overview like you did of this grant, because I think it is extensive in nature, and I know you guys have put a lot of work into this. And you have a lot of great grassroots community partners that are represented in this grant. And I think proponents did a nice job of explaining this is a worthwhile project. And it would be a worthwhile project on its own just by connecting the loop of trail systems in North Omaha that it proposes to connect with its 3-mile extension. But it's much more than that. It is and will be consistent with the city's climate action reduction plan that will go to planning board first week in November, and I think to this council by the end of the month, end of the year. And it does do things like monitor air quality, address heat islands in our city, which we know occurs in this neighborhood with additional trees and landscape and other opportunities. So I wanted to give you that chance to expand upon that a little bit more if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Just to be clear, this this grant is actually going to fund a trail system that goes from North Omaha 24th or 30th and Sprague. That's already built from 30th and Sprague to 24th and Lake, and from 24th and Lake, the DED, Department of Economic Development, has already awarded Spark to build another trail that connects connecting trail that ends at Baby Bob Bridge. And this, this trail will actually be going phases 3 and 4 of this project. Let me just identify this real quick. So, here. This trail, so first of all, we have 9 partners that we're working with. So that is why it's community, it's community-based, but it will be going from basically from the Baby Bob Bridge heading north, and then we'll be connecting through Pimas Park. I'm sorry, I had this on this. 1 second here. Yeah, so Spark supports this. I'm sorry, I didn't. I passed that. I thought I had that copy, but I must have forgot it in my bag. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Just to give you a chance to talk more about completing the loop of the trail.
Yeah.
And also all the amenities that are involved in the grant application and what that'll do for the community.
Yeah. So I mean, as part of the the community. As part of this trail, it's also going to include trail-oriented development, which is part of the, which we're hoping to support the city's climate action plan. And there was a publication about, I think 3 or 4 months ago, where the Nebraska, or in the World Herald, in Nebraska, one of the leading cause of death is cardiovascular diseases. First being cancer, unfortunately, and this will be in an effort trying to get people active and trying to get people going as part of the multimodal transportation, being able to use trails to be active in the community is going to be an important component of the community. So.
Mm-hmm. And the application will, yeah, we can have a map here if you'd like to use it.
Thank you.
Lay it flat so that you can put it on the
I really appreciate that. Oh, the other way around. Perfect. I got it. Thank you. There it is. So as you can see here, phase 1 and 2 is this right here where my finger is. Yeah, that's shown right there. Phase 3 and 4 will be going. The 10% study that we've already conducted will take it from this end over here and to the north of this, and this would be phase 3. They'll go to Elmwood Park.
Mm-hmm. Great. And the application itself can apply for up to $20 million, right?
Yes. Yes, up to $20 million, and as part of that, portion of that is going to go into straight physical construction of the trail, and aspect of that is going to, or a portion of that grant is going to go to our community partners to do beautification projects and trail activation. Having a trail there is great. If no one is using it, it's a waste of time. So trying to get people to get introduced to the trail, but actively using it. And with our partnership with Douglas County Health Department, we're hoping to monitor the health or air quality of the trail, and having things like red, green light along the trail will notify people if it's red, it's too dangerous for people to be on the trail. The the pollution is too high, yellow being kind of a warning, green, it's a green light for them to go. So having those amenities along the trail is going to be helpful. And along with our partnership with Bike Share Nebraska, trying to get people to ride more, having bike stations along the way, and having vouchers if individuals can't afford it to introduce them to the joys of riding. That's going to be an important part of our partnership there. And Bike Walk Nebraska is doing education for individuals that don't know how to ride bikes. One of their one of their claim to fame is that they could help you ride within 3 hours. So that's going to be great, and of all ages. So that's what's kind of important. And one additional item, we have a partnership with 75 North, hoping to do a 10% study to extend the trail from the Highland development to take it all the way to Baby Bob Bridge and connecting phases 3 and 4 as well.
Yeah, it's a really important connector to our trail system, I think. And as you noted, if the grant application is successful, it's all capital expenditures. And if constructed, the city then takes on responsibility for that maintenance, but the grant itself is all for capital costs, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So the grant will take care of the capital cost of the trail, the construction, and the city, this is part of, and we've been lucky enough to come at a time when we're doing the city's parks comprehensive plan, and the city is currently working on how to incorporate the trail system within their parks comprehensive plan. So we've been given the green light and saying that it does fit with their comprehensive plan and what the operation and maintenance. So,
and this community change grant was one of several grants the city council identified during our budget process that we hoped our community would apply for and take advantage of. And this is the first one that has, I think that first deadline of late November. So I'm very supportive of what you're doing here and look forward to having the city partner with you on that. What is the timeline for disposition of that grant?
So we're hoping to apply. Spark will submit the grant as soon as if we're fortunate to get enough the support of the council, and then application is due November 21st. And we anticipate to get notified of the award early in 2025, and then the grant must be completed within 3 years.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you so
Mr. Begley,
much.
you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. President Bowie. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good seeing you again today. And you have a new worker with you. Is she here today?
Absolutely. So
We're
Daisy.
gonna out her here.
Yes,
There
Daisy
she is.
Coyle is our project manager. She just joined us. This is her second day, and seeing her boss stumble up here is wonderful.
Well, I can assure you that your boss, when I met him on July 31st in my office, you did great today. You did great in my office explaining the connections that you're doing with this trail. It's a long-term thing. Talk about the outreach you did to the community through this process.
Absolutely. One of the early things we identified with this grant, in order for it to be successful, there has to be strong community buy-in, and that's not just from the feds. That's coming down. That's what we heard from our city as well. This has to be a grassroots process. So the first thing we did was connect with community members. And that's how we identified the 9 partners, but also we have 2 components of our urban design. One of them is a technical committee that oversees the technical implementation of all projects, and that's made up of technically savvy community members. And then we also have Community Advisory Board, which is made up of community members of all stages, and that advises us based on the partners that we select, the aesthetics of the trail, and the partners that we bring in. So those 2 strong components help us govern the implementation of this project. But without the partners that we're working with, I don't think we would have as much impact as we would. And the grant, I don't think would go forward. So the 9 partners are critical to this application process.
And so is your leadership to that, because again, you connected those community partners with, I think you met with all of us individually. I really enjoyed the meeting we had, and you were really engaging on educating me on why I am so glad to be supporting this, and it's a good thing for our community. It connects. Downtown is evident on the map there you have. I'm glad you took my computer because it's hard to see it on a phone. So that worked out good that you were having a little technical difficulty, that we can see that on the map. It goes south side to Creighton, north to 30th and Ames, and it connects our city, Adams Park on the west there. It really is connecting the trails, and it's a good, strong city has these connections. And thanks again for your work on this and taking the time coming down when you did in the summer and again here today. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson-Gilletta?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Hey, Bowie, thanks for coming. I do have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Initially, you had mentioned you have 12 partners, now 9. Which one is correct?
12 partners. So
Okay.
we went up.
Would you mind identifying who those partners are?
Yep. So one partner is obviously the city, Heartland B Cycle, Douglas County Health Department, One Omaha, 75 North, Culture House, Bike Walk Nebraska, Keep Omaha Beautiful, and Spark Capital. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Well, that is 9. So sorry, 9. I overread. So nine partners.
So you have 9?
Yes, including Spark Capital.
And how are those partners identified?
Through our community, through our community advisory board called CAB, because they're the driving aspect of our community.
Okay, and so your advisory, you already have a advisory committee already formed?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and how were they determined? How did you pick the members on the advisory committee?
To be quite honest, we emailed as many people as possible, and the people that responded, we started working with those individuals.
Okay, if there are individuals in the community that are interested in joining that committee, is there opportunities there?
We would welcome them with open arms.
Okay, and the same would be applicable as to how you arrived at the technical
committee. So the technical committee, we did it a little bit different just because we needed different type of talent on that technical committee for the implementation component. So we have engineers, we have landscape architects, we have city planners, and we even have members of the city from, from not the planning department, but the one that deals with streets and
Public Works, yeah.
Public Works. Yeah, so that one is comprised a little bit differently from the Community Advisory Board, just because of what needs to be done on the technical side.
So the technical committee, correct me if I'm wrong, they would be people that would be considered having some type of expertise in some area or another, correct?
Yes, expertise, but more of specialty.
Okay. So again, I'm going to ask the question, is there an opportunity for others to join that technical committee?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's just a bit different makeup is what I'm trying to impress on that.
Okay. And then also there was some concern earlier today. One of the, I think Mr. Larry here posed the question to allude to why is this location unique in nature as opposed to a different location?
Because it's been historically disinvested.
Okay, so if let's compare apples to oranges. Let's say 40th and Ames. Would we want to put something like this at 40th and Ames?
Well, and on this, when we went to our community and kind of laid out what the 10% study was going to be, this was the 10%, this was the route that they've identified. So we have future plans for future phases of the trail, and our hope is to actually encompass as much of this as possible, but for right now, for the purposes of this grant, this was the 10% study that we put together.
Okay. All righty. I think you've answered all my questions, and I can get back to my community since this will be directly impacting District 2. I can go back and share with them that there is opportunities to be a part of this huge project.
Also, because Spark is a holistic community development organization, outside of this trail, there's always opportunity for people to participate in anything they want within our organization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing I forgot to mention in my remarks too that you just touched upon, I am on the board of Douglas County's Board of Public Health. I know they hosted a big community meeting with you, and I did hear from Director Hughes this morning that they're very much in support of this too. So,
well,
yeah, thanks
thank
for
you,
that.
President.
Mr. Rowe.
Sir, I've been fortunate to serve on the MAPA board for a little while, and actually took a site visit with some of their members out to Indianapolis, and I appreciate the vision that you have to put this plan together. The city of Indianapolis did a similar project, and they had Mr. Fan saw what they called a TOD, but it wasn't a transit-oriented development, it was a trails-oriented development. And what they found was that all along the trail, people got excited about building homes right on the trail, or apartment buildings, businesses, and it really sparked a tremendous amount of economic development along the trail in Indianapolis and their inner city. So I appreciate the vision, appreciate the work that you've done, and I wish you all the success to get that grant.
I appreciate that support, and that is ultimately our vision to spark development along the trail. And I do have to apologize to council members. I wish I was a bit more articulate in this matter. Again, I'm still working through my nerves as I'm kind of falling into my job. But I really, truly believe in this project. I believe in the transformation effect that it will have in our community. But I really appreciate how kind you guys have been so far in terms of listening to our project, asking the questions that you needed to have, and guiding us through this process. And we appreciate the city's support as well.
Thank you. You're doing fine. We appreciate authentic testimony, and we know that's the case with you, including your enthusiasm. So you're doing fine. Ms. Melton.
Thanks, Ian. I just wanted to follow up at that. I mean, we had a really long Zoom call where you did explain everything. In fact, it's your excitement for the project when you're explaining it, that your passion for this really, really shows. And so I think that you're an excellent leader for this project. And I love that you're taking the lead and just asking the city to be a partner. So many people come to the city council and they want something done, but they want government to lead it and do it for them. Quite frankly, you've kind of done the opposite. You said, listen, we want this done. I'm going to form partnerships all over the city with people in the community, and then I'm asking the city to be a partner with us as we do it. And I think that is so much better for the community than just going and having the government plan it, do it, pay for it. You're finding a way to get, and by the way, it's an EPA grant. It's an Environment Protection Agency grant that will be paying for this. And you're partnering with all these people to help apply for the grant. And I just kind of wanted to clarify this. I mean, there was some accusation that it's cultural Marxism. It's a trail. It's a trail where people can bike, they can walk, and it's probably in one of the best parts of our county, out in North Omaha, where I think it's absolutely most needed. We have trails out in West Omaha, which we need the connections to, and we're working on those as well. So what I like about what we're doing is, it's not that we're picking one area of the city over the other. We're making sure all areas of our city are kind of getting the trails and the connections that they need. And so that's why I support this, and I appreciate your passion.
Thank you, Councilman.
And all your work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move the approval.
There's a motion and a second to approve. No further lights. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Good luck and keep us informed.
Item 53, an ordinance to accept the bid from Arrow Towing for towing services for city and county-owned vehicles.
Council members, this item was postponed from the September 10th meeting. The vote is today. I don't see any further lights. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. She might have left. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0. Item 54, a resolution to approve the purchase order and facilities waiver with OPPD for the installation of Acorn streetlights for the Omaha Downtown Improvement District Lighting Project.
Public hearing and vote on number 54 is today. Proponents, please. See none. Any are you on this one? Oh, yeah, come on down. 54, right? Okay, good.
Brad Earlsmith, owner of Arrow Towing, 311.
We just did that one and it was approved.
Oh, shit.
Congratulations.
Free to go.
Thanks for being here. You did a heck of a job. Proponents on number 54, which is the Downtown Business Improvement District. Anyone here to speak to this item? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Harding. Yes. Hug. Yes. Johnson is absent. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0. Bagley abstains. Item 55, an ordinance to approve a major amendment to a mixed-use district development agreement for West Farm. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on number 55 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, my name's Joe Flaxbeard, civil engineer with Lamper Nearson, 14710 West Dodge Road. On behalf of the applicant, this major amendment is just to document the use, changing the use in the mixed-use development agreement from office to multifamily. It's for a condo project at Heartwood Preserve. I'm here to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 56, an ordinance to approve an agreement with Impact Development Fund to administer the city's affordable housing loan pool program.
Public hearing on number 56 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Greg Paskatch, City Planning. May recall, about a year ago, the city was awarded a $20 million Section 108 award from HUD to help fund a development and preservation fund for affordable housing within our neighborhood revitalization strategy areas. So this agreement with Impact Development Fund will allow us to provide hybrid administration for that program. Hybrid meaning the Impact Development Fund will provide underwriting services on those loans as well as loan closing and loan servicing. The city will process intake of applications, make sure they align with consolidated plan, other plans, make sure we do internal review of it before we then do public comment, environmental review, the underwriting. Every agreement that would be moving forward or recommended for approval would come to you guys for review before going to HUD DC for final review and approval. So this just allows us to get that program launched.
Okay. Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Greg, maybe just one question for you. To the status of the loan pool itself, how would you describe that these days as an update?
So I've had pre-application conversations with a handful of developers trying to understand from their perspective what the interest is, how they would best utilize this. For-profit developers who've mainly been who I've talked with, they're interested in this loan product for site development because that's an eligible use. So that's kind of where the conversations lie. So I've been trying to get that teed up so once we have an approval for the administration, we can actually have the applications open. I didn't want to be accepting applications without the ability to process them. So November 1st would be the opening of those applications, and then we take it from there.
A rolling application process?
Rolling applications until our 20 million is committed, right? We would close down the applications, and then once repayments reach a point where we can start making more loans, that we would open it back up and do that.
And are you able to anticipate how long that would take to replenish the fund and keep going?
So we anticipate, I mean, it's again kind of estimating best guess here, $4 million a year for the next 5 years to get those funds deployed. You're probably going to be closed down for a few years. The biggest thing becomes, are these short-term construction loans, or are they going to be longer-term, 20-year perm loans where it's going to take longer to rebuild that? So your guess may be as good as mine in terms of what that is. Now, the site work side, we may see some shorter term loans with that.
Good.
We'll find out.
I know we have a meeting coming up on the Affordable Action Housing Plan itself, but I see this as an important first component
Absolutely.
of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 57, an ordinance to accept and authorize disbursement from the Nebraska Crime Commission on law enforcement and criminal justice grant for the Omaha Police Department.
Public hearing on number 57 is today. Proponents, please.
Hello, Captain Ken Fox of the Omaha Police Department, 505 South 15th Street. Myself and our grant coordinator here are here if any questions need to be asked.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, hi, how are you? Can you give me a info commercial about what this will provide to us? What opportunities can we expect from this grant?
So this grant, this is our second program, second year continuation award, and it basically assists us with hotspots and other enforcement needs that we need. So anytime we get mayor complaints or city council complaints, this gives us an opportunity to put those resources that we have to provide overtime, or actually provide overtime for our gang units or any other specialized units to be able to locate those issues that are on those complaints.
So we've obviously there are a number of hotspots in the Omaha area. They've already been identified. So residents, city council members, whomever can reach out to you and ask or request support in that area.
Yes, yes, and also things that we identify too as investigators also, that we see maybe a trend or we see the numbers spike in certain places. We're able to provide resources in those areas to provide safety for our community members.
And so you mentioned this is your second year. So the first year, how successful were you? And is there some documentation or some literature whereby myself and others can dive into in terms of educating ourselves about your program?
That's a great question, and I'll have my grant coordinator come up and answer that for us.
Thank you.
Phil Rue, Grant Coordinator, Omaha Police Department, 505 South 15th Street. So in the Year 1 award, which council approved last year, OPD ran approximately 18 overtime operations. Again, most of those were data-based hotspot enforcement operations. I do not have specific details about outcomes for those operations, but I do know that city does provide quarterly progress reports to the federal government. And if you have any particular questions, I'm sure we can accommodate those.
I'd like to see your last quarterly report.
Okay.
So if you could email me that so that I can peruse through and become familiar with that.
I made a note. Yep.
Keep doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 58, an ordinance to accept and authorize disbursement from the Nebraska Crime Commission fiscal year 2024 Stop Violence Against Women grant to enhance victim assistance services and prosecute cases of domestic violence.
Public hearing on number 58 is today. Proponents, please.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. Jeanette Taylor, 3801 Harney. I'm the CEO of the Women's Center for Advancement. I apologize, I have a cold today. We partnered.
Pull the microphone just a little closer to your.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay,
right there.
that better? All right.
There you go.
So the WCA has partnered with the mayor's office for probably about 4 decades now. We serve as emergency response for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. This funding basically will support the WCA in our efforts as we do legal representation for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, as we send advocates out to work with these victims as they're trying to get their lives back on track. And as we do training and education throughout the community, just showing businesses, schools, and people what to look for when there are people who are being trafficked and things of that nature. So we've been long partners with the city, and essentially this funding will help us continue to serve the community and the people in need. So I am here with my VP of programs if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing. Any other proponents that want to speak today?
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Mechna. I'm a Deputy Douglas County Attorney with the Douglas County Attorney's Office. I've been with them for about 26 years, and I'm the supervisor of the Domestic Violence Unit. And we also are a longtime partner with this VAWA grant. This grant allows us to fund one of the prosecutor's positions as well as a liaison who assists with communication with victims for court dates, bond hearings, etc. So I'm here to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Captain Ken Fox here for any questions.
Good. Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none. Any opponents? Public hearing's closed. I don't see any lights. Thanks for your testimony. Next
Yeah,
item.
Mr. President,
are
I
you-
have a light.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Jennifer, hi. Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are
Good.
you?
Great. Hey, I've seen your program over the years for a long time in the community, so I'm very familiar with what you do. Just wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that the program offers for people in crises, and how would they go about notifying your organization should they need help?
So our organization, we get involved by virtue of a 911 call through whether it's Omaha Police Department, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, any other law enforcement agency. Once a police report is made, it is forwarded to our office for prosecution. So we review it for misdemeanor and felony charges.
Okay, so you're not with the YWCA then?
No, that's...
Okay, so you guys have two different programs here in the one?
So the VAWA has several different partners and several different agencies who are also part of the community response team for domestic violence.
Okay.
We just happen to be two of several of the programs involved. So there's law enforcement agencies such as OPD, Sheriff's Office, Heartland Family Services, several others.
So under that umbrella, YWCA, there are several partners that are doing this work.
Actually, we're separate and apart. It's just that all these separate agencies are supported by or funded in part by the grant that VAWA gives to the community and is administered through the mayor's office.
Okay, thank you. And so my initial question was for YWCA.
I believe
Sorry
so.
about that.
That's all right.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So if we have young ladies that may be facing crises, how would they reach out and those services, if you could expand upon that?
Yeah, there's a variety of ways. So we have a 24-hour hotline that operates 7 days a week. Typically, our calls come in through the same nurses at the hospitals if it's a sexual assault or domestic violence. We have Omaha Police Department provides us with OPD reports. If it's something that appears to be domestic violence, we contact the client directly to see if they want our services. And we all of these organizations partner under VAWA, which is the Victim Against Women's Act funding through the city.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any further lights. Next item.
Item 59, an ordinance to approve an agreement with Urban Peace Institute and to authorize funding from the fiscal year 2022 Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative Grant.
Public hearing on number 59 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 60, an ordinance to accept and authorize disbursement from the fiscal year 2024 Project Safe Neighborhoods Grant Program to address specific gun crime and gang violence problems.
Public hearing on number 60 is today. Proponents, please.
Captain Ken Fox here.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 61, an ordinance to accept and authorize disbursement from the fiscal year 2024 Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative Grant Program to expand ongoing targeted violence intervention efforts that identify and serve individual and groups.
Public hearing on number 61 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing, okay, come on down, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Charity Evans, CHARITYEVANS, address 987461 Nebraska Medical Center. I am a trauma surgeon and chief of acute care surgery at Nebraska Medicine and support this program.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Raposo, ASHLEY-RAPOSO, at the same address. I am the supervisor of our hospital-based violence intervention program called Encompass Omaha at Nebraska Medicine.
Thank you.
We're here if you have any questions.
Appreciate that. Any other proponents in the audience?
Good afternoon, Council. Willie Barney, CEO and founder of the Empowerment Network, 2401 Lake Street. We stand in support of this very important initiative and partnership that's been formed, and we are definitely here, myself and Nadia Spurlock, to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, esteemed council member of Omaha. My name is Lin Ren. I'm a professor of criminology and criminal justice representing University of Nebraska Omaha here. I serve as a research partner for this grant with the Empowerment Network as well as the UMC. My colleague, Dr. Mark Foxall, who is also on this research team, unfortunately, he's not here today because he's hosting a jail conference in Chicago, but he sent his regards to everybody. I'm here to answer your question as research partner if you have any question and support this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just your address too for the record?
Address is at University of Nebraska, Omaha.
Okay. 6001 Dodge Street?
You got it. Thank you.
Gotcha. Any other proponents here? All right. Any opponents? Seeing none, public hearings closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Yes. My question is just for point of information. Does anyone provide any updates in terms of outcomes and things of that nature for all of the programs that we have here today? Is there some reporting mechanism in which this information is made available to the public? I mean, we're spending a lot of money, and I'm sure that you're having, as my colleague would like for me to express that this is a grant, it's still money, but nonetheless, money is being spent, and it's for a worthy cause, no doubt of that, but what are the outcomes? Because we all as a community need to know what those outcomes are, not only to know about them, but also if we're in need of some of the services that you provide, that we would know what they are. So if I could have someone speak to that, that would be very much appreciative.
Hi everyone, I'm happy to speak on behalf of Nebraska Medicine and then speak to the Nebraska Collaborative for Research, Intervention, and Prevention that we're also a part of. So we have short-term and long-term outcomes that we measure here at Encompass, and so our short-term outcomes are essentially like any of the activities that take place that we're measuring, and so we measure about 35 individual activities as is mandated by VOCA, which is one of our funding partners. And so, yes, those are all recorded. We have them since our inception in 2020 to date, and we will continue to measure those. We share them with our funders. In terms of anything that could be publicly accessible, part of the publication efforts of this grant is creative opportunities to share that information outside of the peer-reviewed kind of area that we normally see in peer-reviewed literature through academic journals. And so opportunities to share it with community partners.
Thank you.
if I may, thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for your question. I'm relatively new to the ongoing two grants you're referring to. I would like to thank my predecessor, Dr. Galen Armstrong, who built a relationship with UMC in the past 3 or 4 years. She competed for the dean position, and she was appointed as the dean of the College of Public Affairs and Community Service. And she introduced me to this grant this summer. Since I stepped into this grant, I have been working with the teammates who are sitting here today. So we are conducting formative as well as the outcome evaluation, looking into multiple data sets. We are going to have a mixed methods approach, including quantitative data as well as qualitative data, meaning that we are interviewing 10 participants of the in-campus program. We have completed 8 of them. We have 2 more to finish. And our goal, on behalf of Dr. Mark Foxall, our goal is to provide draft of the technical report for the ongoing grant at the end of January, early February. And I have been very impressed with the very rich information I received from the teammate. We are looking into their recruitment efforts. We are looking into type of services they have provided, over 60 different type of services. We are looking into the cost saving because of the introduction of the medical health insurance to some of the participants who did not have health insurance at all. It's our goal to share the findings and disseminate all those valuable information with our team, as well as with the concerned public. As I said, by the end of January or early February, we expect to have a draft of the technical report. Hopefully, I can share that draft with you. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Milton, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to note that a lot of, if you look at these grants are all applied for by a lot of the nonprofits or partners that we have here. When they're approved, like this one, it's through the Department of Justice. And the city just administers the people who receive the grant. The money comes from the federal government, goes to the city, and the city disperses it. So it's not city taxpayer dollars. This is not coming out of our general fund. And I do think that that's important to note for people that think we're spending all this money. This is money that has been granted by the federal government to these individual people, and the city council just approves it because it's gone into our account. And so then we're required to approve the disbursements that go out. And just on a side note to UNO, UNO does such a fabulous job collecting data for all kinds of things, especially for the criminal justice program. And I've worked with UNO in that data collection all the way back when we just had the county attorney here. I was a domestic violence prosecutor with the county attorney, as well as Mr. Kuzi, who's sitting behind me. We were getting those grants over 20 years ago, I know, when I started there. And it's so important actually to our city, and the benefit to our city is to make sure that we do have the people, we have the prosecutors, that we have the WCA, that we have UNMC and Encompass and UNO, and everyone kind of working together in order to make our city a better place. But I just thought it was important to note how the money is dispersed and why it comes in front of the council. So, but special thank you to UNO. Appreciate it.
Mr. President, Ms. Melton asked her question, we do have another individual that I believe that did come forward to conclude with my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Council, for the opportunity to share. This has actually been a long time coming, in that through the work that we've done with the city over the years, the Department of Justice has recognized this initiative, collaborative, whether through 360, UNMC, UNO, the city, the work that has been done. And as of 2023, we have seen in the city as a whole, 60% reduction in gun violence. So the Department of Justice has actually been here 3 times to look at the work. We have been asked to present the collective work in Omaha at national conferences over the last couple of years. But one of the things, Councilwoman Johnson, that has been identified, I know you have constituents that have also identified this. Many times we have small grassroots organizations, sometimes single-person operations that are doing work, and we call on them all the time. The last few years, we've been trying to find ways to get dollars to those small agencies. One of the most exciting things about the federal funding that we are receiving with this particular grant is that we will be able to work with some of those smaller individual agencies, organizations that are out there in the middle of the night, going to hospitals, going to scenes, working with some of our young men and young women that most need the support. So that's one of the most exciting things and why the Empowerment Network agreed to participate in that we will subgrant to those agencies and organizations that are really doing the work and have been doing for years, in most cases uncompensated. So I just wanted to share with you that that's a major part of why we are involved. And I believe through the research that not only UNO and UNMC have been recognized for, we also have community-based evaluators that will be helping those smaller agencies track and document the work that they're doing, so that hopefully that opens more doors for them to expand and grow as well. So sorry for the long answer, but I wanted to specifically speak to that because that is an opportunity that we have all been working for to make sure that those smaller grassroots organizations are recognized for the work that they're doing.
Right, and thank you. We have grants here, and of course they are federally funded. Everyone knows that, very clear on that. At the same time, federal funding does require reporting.
Absolutely.
And I'm not receiving those reports. So it's very hard for me, the representative of this community, where oftentimes these services are going to be received, that I can champion what's being done or not being done. So I'd like to see those reports so that I can advocate the recipients that have received the grants.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that you haven't submitted those reports to the city of Omaha. I'm simply saying I would like to have access to that information because I serve a community where most often you are providing those services too. And I'd like to be able to articulate, be able to talk about, and do whatever is needed in order to continue further the advancement of people that I serve in my community.
Yeah, just to make sure that the council knows that this is the first time that the Empowerment Network has been a recipient and supported by the district as far as DOJ or by the city. So definitely moving forward, but we have other reports that we can generate. The other thing I would bring to the council, I'm sure you know it, but some of the reports that we've worked on with the city and with the police department over the years are available on the police department's website, publicly readily available data by precinct, which is one of the things as other cities talk to us, the level of detail that the police department and the city do report by precinct, by month, is the data that we utilize as well on an aggregate level, but also broken down to those precincts. But this is our first time, so we're excited to be a part of it with the other partners, but we definitely will be able to provide those reports as requested, Councilwoman. But
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor is yours. Do you want to recognize another speaker?
Council Johnson,
Yes.
thank you for that
Yes.
question about deadline. So for the two ongoing grants, I think we have the deadline until September 2025.
Okay.
So the BJ of DOJ gave us 3 months for the research partner to close out the project, provide reports. So once we have it, so basically we are still ahead of time really for those two ongoing projects. So when the time is approaching, we're going to make sure we send those reports to the concerned community stakeholders as well as to the council members and also my agency partners and City of Omaha as well. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for that testimony. I don't see any further lights. Next item.
Item 62, an ordinance to accept and authorize disbursement from the fiscal year 2024 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act grant program to implement a comprehensive stress management and suicide prevention program.
Public hearing on number 62 is today. Proponents, please.
Captain Ken Fox.
It's Ken Fox Day. Any other proponents?
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sam Klinkenbeard from the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice at UNO, 6001 Dodge Street, and I'm here to answer questions. I am the research evaluation partner on the grant.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 63, an ordinance to authorize the issuance of various purpose bonds, Series 2024, in the amount of $85 million.
Public hearing on number 63 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Curtis, just because this is a large number on the agenda, I usually want to ask this for anyone that may be watching. This is $85 million in various bond authorizations that we're now going to sail on, right?
That's correct. These are items in the CIP that are ready to go. In some cases, we've actually even spent these monies, as we often do.
So previously approved by voters, now you're just executing that program of work.
That's correct. These are already authorized by the voters.
Yep. Thank you. Next item.
Item 64, an ordinance authorizing and approving a lease purchase agreement with the City of Omaha Public Facilities Corporation to provide funds to acquire property at the Crossroads redevelopment site.
Public hearing on number 64 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. I think the public needs to know a little bit more about this because an awful lot of questions have been raised about why there's no activity for, a couple of years at Crossroads. There's a couple other projects that aren't moving forward on anything, and we kind of wonder about that also. So maybe there's some real deep problems with the TIF program in general. And we'd like some answers. Costs are rising every day, you're delayed. And somehow the taxpayers get socked for that. So the one across from the library, I noticed one building has been torn down. Is that going to stop now until agreements like this maybe are arranged for that? The one down in Mareberry Street and Saddle Creek Road, that hasn't moved forward either. Surely the citizens would like to know what the problems are with TIF. Thank you.
Any other opponents on number 64? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
President, Jen, if you would come down. I know we talked a little bit about this at the pre-council, but thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about what's happening on this item today.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Jennifer Taylor, City Law Department. This is, if you recall, we talked at length last month when we approved the agreement with Woodbury for the acquisition of the land in Phase 1, the construction of the parking facilities, and the development that's going to go along with that. So the bonds that are before you today will be the bonds that city will issue in order to garner the funds to acquire that property pursuant to the agreement that we approved last month. So it says $40 million. As you recall, the purchase price in the agreement was $38.8 million for those 3 blocks in Phase 1 at Crossroads. The additional money is just there to make sure we have enough to cover issuance costs and closing costs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No further lights. Next item.
Item 65, an ordinance to approve the 8th Amendment to the agreement and lease with Mecca for drop-off lanes along 10th Street.
Public hearing on number 65 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon. Roger Dixon, President and CEO of Mecca, 455 North 10th Street. We're here in support of this ordinance and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Jennifer, maybe a little from your perspective too on what this document does.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Jennifer Taylor, City Law Department. This is an agreement between the city and Mecca. It is an amendment to the original lease and operating agreement that we entered into with Mecca in August of 2000. which has Mecca leasing the property and managing the facilities that are on that property that covers the Arena Convention Center and the ball field and the associated parking lots. What this amendment does is threefold. One, it removes a certain part of Lot A from the leased area that Mecca controls and governs in order for the city to build facilities associated with the vehicle maintenance facility for the streetcar. It adjusts the lot lines to accommodate some vacated right-of-way that will be added back to their lease site in adjustment of the street that goes along in front of Lot A, all pursuant to the exhibits that are in your agreement. And lastly, it, pursuant to city code, leases that drop-off lane that you see in front of the convention center. That will be leased to Mecca. Mecca will then have the kind of right and control over that drop-off lane, maintenance, et cetera, but they'll be able to better manage that for their purposes than we do as it being public right-of-way. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further lights. Next item.
Item 66, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10, Division 5 of the Omaha Municipal Code entitled Small and Emerging Small Business Program to increase the minimum net worth of individual owners to coincide with the changes from the Department of Transportation. A is amendment of the whole requested by the Law Department.
Public hearing on number 66 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Council President Festerson, members of the City Council, Kaylin DeHelius, Human Rights and Relations Department Director. I'm here in support of this SEB ordinance amendment. It's consistent with the language in the ordinance. The language in the ordinance amending the whole is the language we'd like to offer, which is to update the maximum value of the net worth of a business owner from $1.32 million up to $2.047 million. The reason for this update is that the U.S. Department of Transportation hasn't updated that net worth value since 2011. The SEB ordinance was drafted with consideration of updating this amount and states this figure may be subject to change from time to time based on the rules promulgated by the U.S. Department of Transportation. We strive to be consistent with the Department of Transportation where we can be for streamlined business opportunities and compliance with federal regulations. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Caitlin, maybe just one follow-up for you. So I was involved in the original drafting of this ordinance some time ago, and so the only reason to increase the net worth of an individual is to do what you're describing, to be consistent with federal standards, right?
Yes.
We're still targeting small, truly small and emerging businesses with this ordinance, and do you feel the program is working?
Yes, I do, absolutely. And I think, expanding the value in this way will invite more owners into the program, potentially owners with a slightly larger net worth. However, considering that the initial amount was set in 2011 and we're now in 2024, 1.32 million in 2011 meant closer to 2.047 million today. So we kind of stick true to the spirit of and intention of the SEB ordinance by adjusting who can be involved in the program based on their personal net worth for time and inflation.
Mm-hmm. And our goal is still 14% participation?
Our goal is 14%. The first half of this year, we were at 11.37%, so we're getting closer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
No further lights. Madam Clerk.
Non-action items, items 67 through 97, do not require public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on agenda for consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion and a second. Roll call.
Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Bagley. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Meeting is adjourned at 3:39.